Hey guys, welcome to Inspiring Times podcast, Grounded, a podcast by Inspiring Time. Very unique. I do like Grounded. I'm going to run over a few little tips and tricks here. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. It's a simple click of the subscribe and the little notification bell so you know we have a new one out. Also, if you're following us on any of the podcast servers, search engines, all the things, like and subscribe there, whatever that looks like, and leave us a review. That's how I know the information that we are giving to you is important and it really excites you. Guys, you know me. I love a good friend on Instagram. And that is how I met Kimmie. So she's going to introduce herself, tell us where we can find her, because I know you're going to go search that up before we get to the end. And then we're going to talk all things, the calm in the middle of the storm, basically, is what we're talking about today. And an entrepreneurial business mindset, right?
Yeah.
All right. Take it away.
Guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. So I'm Kimmie Bothwell, born and raised in Opelika, and just recently moved here, got married, and we've been living here for a couple of years. So I am a watercolor artist I say by night, because during the day I work.
It's better than other options.
Sure. During the day, I'm a physical therapist assistant. And so I love the medical field, but it's very different than the watercolor and art world. So that's what I do by night. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Simply Kimmie, and also on Facebook at Simply Kimmie. And
I like it. Simple.
Yes.
Clean, concise.
Oh, I do need to clarify. Simply is not spelled like it normally is, because I can't be normal. It's simply with an IE and then Kimmie with an IE on the end. So that way it kind of flows. And then website is also the same, simplykimmie.com. So that's where you can find me.
Okay. Guys, when we did Elizabeth Digital, Kimmie reaches out to me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I think we can be friends." And I immediately knew we were going to be good friends, because Elizabeth and I had a blast chatting over champagne that I could not get the bottle open on. It's fine. I finally managed it. It's all good. We got our mimosa. And we actually, did you come to the meeting of the women?
No, I wanted to. Yeah, I was not able to make it, but I was dying to come.
So Pike Road we've only been here a year ourselves, being military. And I love this close-knit group of women, and seeing 40 plus women in this room was so exciting to me.
Yeah.
So right after that, Elizabeth and I set up our time to do the podcast. And then you reached out immediately. I was like, this is awesome. The summer is really lining up to be all things women, all things entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So you say you do this by night.
Yeah.
How did you get started into art?
So my grandmother is a professional artist, and just growing up, she always gave us stuff to play with, and and so I feel like I've always been around art, but I think I started doing it, I guess making money off of it. Let me say it that way, officially doing it.
The business side of it.
Sure. Legally. We'll throw that in there too, because I learned all of that backwards. It's fine.
As we all do.
Yes. A couple of years ago, I was actually out of PTA school, and going through any sort of school, you're study, you go to class, you come home, you study. So then I was just used to doing stuff when I got done with my day. So I came home after not having to study, and I was like, well, what do I do? And so I just pulled out the watercolors, and I was like, I feel like I can do this. I used to do it. And then it blew up, and it turned into something that really gave me an escape,
So where did you go to college?
Which time?
Multiple. Well, let's just start at the beginning.
So I played softball for 2 years, and I went to Central Alabama Community College in Alex City. And that was so fun. Met some really awesome people, but learned that student athlete was not something I wanted to do for 2 more years. It was
very complicated and robust schedule.
No social life. You literally have, you have your softball life, you have your school life, you sort of have a social life, and then you have to have relationships. And it was just like, okay, something's got to go. And I was just tired of always putting, softball first, and body was tired. So we cut that out. So then after that, I went to Auburn, and, from Opelika, always drove past Auburn. I'll never go to that school. I'm going to go.
It's too close to home. I don't want to go there.
Venture off. And so then naturally I landed at Auburn. And then I went to PTA school here at South in Montgomery. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You went to school for a few years.
Yeah. 3 degrees. Do not recommend it.
I went to Mississippi State 4 years and done. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Never want to do it again.
So you 3 different colleges, 3 different areas of study.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Kind of in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But art, did you take art courses while you were there?
No, I didn't even take art classes in high school. And so the fact that I'm doing all of this now, it's just self-taught, and it's YouTube, and it's, hey, grandmother, what do I do with this? And then I get way too long of a story, and, all of that.
What a fun way to connect with your grandmother, though.
Yeah, which is a totally different story. That's been a very, we've had our ups and downs. And so it's kind of been our common ground that we can't really fight about, and so it's nice to connect that way.
So do you remember an age where you and her started connecting over art?
Really young. Like, she used to tell me all the time, she's like, you have such an eye for color. And I was like, doesn't everyone? And
no.
And then insert all of a lot of people that I'm around, they're like, that's a color? Like, what? So yeah.
So what's your favorite part? And we're going to circle back around
Sure.
to like the business part,
Sure.
but I'm very interested because I went to school for horticulture, and most people go, how in the world did you get from horticulture to floral design to event planning to where you are today? The same roundabout way. But I had to take a ton of art classes, and thank goodness we had the option. Usually with an art degree, they start you with black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move into color. Thank goodness I didn't have to go to color, because that in itself is a very, very tricky. You do have to have a very good eye for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it through my black and white class and 2 other art classes. And thank goodness I didn't have to go to like draw your still life right here. Those were always the worst. They terrified me, but I love art. So I understand, that's a lot coming from. So I do understand where you're coming from, but you had no classes.
No.
It's all YouTube.
Pretty much.
A lot of it.
Trial and error.
So what is your favorite thing to create?
Oh.
Or your medium? So watercolor.
Watercolor is the medium, and I'll dabble in acrylics, and it's just, for me, acrylics is unforgiving, which a lot of people say the opposite of that. But I do a lot of watercolor houses, and if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, is the majority of your business going to be watercolor houses? I would have laughed in your face. I'd have been like, no, houses are so boring. But these stories, when people ask me, hey, can you do a house for me? And then they tell me about, this is the house that I grew up in, or this is the house that, my father brought his, it's just the stories. And then you can't help but to put your heart and soul into that.
So I love the town that you're living in right now. Because Ben and Erin, they now have moved.
Sure.
And so home again, is that home? No. Hometown. Yes.
We're
yes.
doing great.
We're doing so good. Yeah, nailed it. I can remember their names, not the name of their show.
Sure.
But you said houses, and she always does a watercolor house with their new family name on it. So did you take any cue from that, or were you doing it? Really?
Yes, actually. So this is kind of how like my art business continually grows. And it may be healthy, it may not be. But I like see something, I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. That'd be fun to do. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool.
That's your creative brain going.
Yeah. And so it's just like, so yeah, I actually saw one of her shows. I wasn't even sitting down just to watch the show. It was just kind of on, and I was like, I could definitely paint that. I wonder if people would like that. And then it just snowballed. And like, literally, that's honestly, I probably do that more than anything, is the watercolor houses.
And how interesting would it be at this point? Because being a military spouse and a military family, I'm sure most people have seen, like, here are all the stations or the bases that you've been at, and it's like this base, this time frame,
Yes.
this base, this time frame. I had a meltdown moment one day when I looked at my husband, Christopher, and said, babe, what did the house in Little Rock, where was the laundry room? And he looked at me and he goes, oh, shoot, I don't know. But what if we'd had like a picture of the house, you know, to put beside, this was the town, this is the time frame, here's the house. I'm thinking that might be the next best thing.
Right.
Military spouses. There you go.
Yeah. You would probably have a gallery wall. It would probably be the entire wall of all the houses.
I would have to do like just little thumbnails of them at this point. And as you can tell, in our house, we don't have that many things hung because every time we move, they break something.
Sure.
So that's why I've found that smaller canvases work really well for me, because I can, they pack easier and there's no glass.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we love houses.
Sure.
That seems to be the meat and potatoes of,
Mm-hmm.
but you also, I've seen some animals.
Yes. I'll do some animals here and there. Animals are challenging. So I try to, just the symmetry of them. And I always try to hold that character, you know, with anything that you paint, it's hard to recreate what you see, because I always see it as something so elaborate, and to simplify that down, which hence Simply Kimmie, like simplifying that down but still holding that character is always the challenge, but it's a fun challenge.
Your work is incredible.
Thank you.
I mean, you truly capture those elements that draw me in.
Sure.
Could I name what those are? No, but it's very intriguing, and the colors that you use. So you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And okay, so we've been to 3 schools. We have finally decided what we want to do when we grow up. And that's morphed 3 more times.
Naturally. So
where does hubby fall into this time frame? Before, after?
So actually, this is I'm about to age us so much. So I have always been a tomboy, which there's so many different facets to my personality. And like, the more people talk to me, they're like, whoa, like, and it's not that. That's a separate side story. Let me stay on track. Okay.
We're all about getting sidetracked here.
Yes,
don't worry.
It's fine. I'm really good at it too. So I've always been a guy's girl, if that makes sense. So I'm always out there playing. And so, you know, playing with whatever, football, baseball, whatever. So I've never been scared of guys. Let me say it that way. Now, when my friends used to call me, hey, I got a guy for you. Nah, probably not. I probably am better judge of character. Naturally, we all control freaks feel that way, right?
Right, absolutely.
So when one of my friends called and she was like, hey, I got this guy for you. And I was like, I was at Auburn, and I was, you know, you're at Auburn, you're going buck wild. Maybe
you're
not everybody, but I did. Like,
absolutely.
You know, I'll admit it. Pre-Jesus, it's okay. So when she called me, I was just like, I don't know. The last couple of guys have been very sketchy. Like, no, I just don't want to waste my time. And then, of course, naturally, anyone stalked him on Facebook. And I was like, okay, I can get with this. And so this is back when you could poke on Facebook. So we weren't even like chit-chatting back and forth. We were literally pressing a button that said poke, 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 poke. And so we messaged back and forth, and that's how it all morphed. And one of our first conversations was, oh, what do you want to do with your life? You know, I'm very ambitious and always have been, and wanted to be sure I wasn't, you know, not getting that. Well, I want to do physical therapy. How about that? Me too. And so it just.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it just blossomed, and he's been with me every step of the way. God love him.
And that's how you know it's a good thing.
I know. And he supports every single thing that I do. And so shout out to hubby.
Yes. Way to go, hubby. Way to go. So you've made this. So in the lapse of time here, met, now you're at South. When did y'all get married?
We got married December of 2019, pre-COVID, which is really crazy to say now. I feel like everything's on a timeline, like between September 11th and COVID, and then after COVID. Like I feel like that's our social timeline now.
Right.
So yeah, we got married in 2019. Now we had dated a while. And then we were engaged for 2.5 years. And it's not that we couldn't commit. It was that I was finishing my contract where I was working at, and then he was in PT school. So
it just worked out.
It worked out.
So you get married, and now it's time to move into, like, are we in the forever home now?
We are in the forever home, and I hope we never move again. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. I don't know how y'all do it.
It's not so bad. Every 2 years I get an itch. I'm like, okay, it's time to go.
That's so funny.
And it hasn't hit. We've only been here a year, so it hasn't hit yet. It hasn't started hitting yet. We'll see. Could be different. So where does the business, is that a hairy road? Like, we're all PT, ready to do the thing, and all of a sudden you're getting like calls.
Sure. So during the day, I always keep my phone on me, but I always want to give the person that's sitting in front of me my very best attention. Mm-hmm. Does that happen all the time? Do we always do that? No. But I try to give them my best attentions. But I get emails and texts and messages all the time. And then I try to allot my lunch break to respond to those. Mm-hmm. And then when I get home, sometimes I'm still responding, but I have like a set schedule. Like, here's what I'm doing when I get home. I'm going to work on this custom or this creative, whatever I'm doing. And I just try to stay on this schedule. Honestly, I've got to stay organized. If I get unorganized, hence how the move went. If I get unorganized, it is total chaos. And then I'm unproductive. If I stay organized, I can be as productive as 3 people sometimes. But that's kind of how it all fits in. I don't know. On paper, it doesn't, but it just works.
I have found, this might not be everybody's thing, but I have found that when I set an actual plan for my day, in fact, I have Brendan Bouchard has a planner, and I love it because it's literally blocked out by every 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And my 30 minutes every morning, I sit down, I go, okay, here's all the kids stuff. Here's all the husband stuff. Here's all the schedules. And then I'm like, oh, look, I have exactly 2 hours to myself to finish writing the book and do the floral design and write the blogs and do the podcast.
Do the things.
So that's not a whole lot of time by the time I get done running around. But if I did not have that 30-minute schedule, I would be in so much trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can just imagine if you're working a normal 9 to 5, and then you've got to come home and you're still trying to commit quality time to the husband because he's been at work all day too. It gets a little challenging.
It does. It does.
Do you have a room in the house that is completely devoted to all thing watercolor?
Yes. And let me insert here too. I have a room where that was one of the first rooms we had set up.
Gotta get that.
So it has all the watercolor, all the things. But it also has my devotional corner. And so that's where it's just a very sacred, safe place for me. So like chaos is going on around me. And that's where I go. And it's very like I just try to treat it as a very sacred, almost like a sanctuary. Now, not saying that my watercolor art's so good that it can feel a sanctuary. I'm just saying like that's where it's safe.
And that's where you feel like you can everything else slides away and you can totally, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably moving all the time. This is a pretty decent size house.
Sure.
And you would think that there is plenty of room for my own little nook. But when you move every 2 years or less, the past 3 years, we've moved 2 times in 3 years. I've not had a space. So that makes it super complicated when I'm trying to work and stay focused. So if you had a tip for an entrepreneur just starting out, what would that be?
I think invest. Wow, there's so many tips.
Okay, you can. Yeah, 3 is good.
Okay, I think the biggest thing is invest in your business, and so that doesn't have to be $100,000. If you have that, great. But just invest in your business. And that can be $5 to go take an online class on marketing. That's really what, is the first thing. But then almost invest in yourself. Like, are you a healthy entrepreneur right now? And what I mean by that is like, are you thriving in what you're doing?
thriving?
Not financially, but like mentally. Do you dread what you're doing as an entrepreneur? Because that's really why every female that I've talked to, which I talk to a lot of female-owned businesses, everyone I talk to, they're like, well, I saw a need and I went and filled that need. And so it's just like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, take a step back. Not that you need to stop what you're doing, but okay, what's going on? Like, so invest in your business, invest in your time, and then invest in yourself, and then invest in the relationships around you, because those relationships around you is really what's going to be your support system and what's going to change everything you're doing.
And again, even if you move, so this is not just military spouses. This is if you just moved from, more than an hour radius, I would say, you have to connect in. So when I was asked to come to this Women in Business here in Pike Road, I was just like, I've never done this. Like, this is super exciting because all of a sudden now I have 20 new friends. We might not even remember each other's first names. It doesn't matter.
So know your Instagram handles.
Thank you. And they're going to be there to like, comment, support, shoot you messages. So that to me has been such an eye opener because I've not had that before.
Yeah.
Okay. So you made a little comment earlier about the whole, I'm sure, business license, the LLC, or the whatever it was, and we did it all backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's expensive when you do that way.
Fees and delinquencies and all the things.
Do I really need to do this? Am I really considered a business? And
and you are. If you think you are, you are. So what does that look like? What did that look like for you?
It's so funny you bring it up, and especially the Women in Business. I went to the gathering, which Elizabeth that you had on recently set up with Lorraine, and she's awesome. And so they set it up, and there was a lady there that was from the IRS, and I was like, oh no, just like hiding in a corner, trying to leave early, naturally. And so before the end of it, she came up to me and she's like, so what do you do? And I was just like,
are you taking notes?
I follow all the rules. What do you do? And so then we had just got to talking, and she was so helpful. And things that I thought that I didn't need, she was like, here's what you need, and this is why you need it. And even if you don't need it down the road, just go ahead and lay the foundation of all of that. And so there's actually a class here in Montgomery that I don't know if they're doing it post-COVID, but this was, again, this is all pre-COVID. And I think they're starting to slowly open it back up. But it's actually a IRS tax class, but it goes beyond. It's like this full packet of stuff. You don't have to pay to go to the class. And I think it's like a Thursday, Friday, or at least it was. And it tells you, these are the licenses you need. This is why you need them. These are the things you need to set aside for later in the year when tax time comes. And it was just such a helpful class.
And so again, moving from state to state, I find when I set up this LLC, Inspiring Time, I almost wanted to throw up because my sister was saying, she owns a small business, and she said, no, just do it, get it set up, you'll feel so much better. And I mean, every night I went to bed, I almost threw up. I was like, I'm so bad I'm fine at handling my rosters and keeping up with the money. I'm fine with that, but I get so upset about the stinking tax part.
Oh, I know.
And so then I'll try and hand it to my husband, who is the business minded, and he's confident in what he does. I lack the confidence, I think, is my big problem when it comes to that. And I'll be like, just fix it. And he goes, I don't understand. You know more than I do. He goes, just, fill it in and send it in. The worst that can happen is that we're going to pay a fine, which of course we don't want to do, but
it's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. And especially if you get behind.
Yeah.
So my sister actually graduated from Auburn as a chemical engineer.
Nice.
And she goes, Amber, just do the small business incubator. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. But if you're in an area where a bigger college is, normally there is some sort of small business incubator, and you can go and check that out.
That's awesome.
Post-COVID, in the middle of the COVID, they are not open and
Sure.
doing the thing. So I'm still lost a little bit, but business license, making sure you know whether you're a sales or a service, turning in your sales so you can then be each month billed correctly. Disclaimer, I am not a tax expert. Follow your guidelines per your state. That's right. But these are just your basics that you would want to look at, and can get you in big trouble really fast if you don't turn them in.
Yeah.
I do not like the website.
It's kind of making me a little nervous talking about it. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like at this point, we kind of know the ropes, and we've talked to professionals, so we know, but every state is very different.
Yeah.
So what we're saying here will cross over, but there's probably other stipulations. So I started with LegalZoom for my first floral design business in Arkansas. They did great. It was about $250. I don't know what it is now. That was several years ago. And they filled out all the paperwork and sent it to me. There's also, when you close your business, you have to actually close it appropriately. So there's just a lot of things that I feel like I would say, go to a professional, go to some sort of lawyer or IRS workshop.
Sure.
Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Get it set up, foundation strong.
Yeah. Invest in yourself and your business. You will thank yourself later. And you'll sleep better.
There were about 3 months I wasn't real sure that I was ever going to sleep again.
Oh, I had dreams I was going to jail. Like, I was like, I really hope they serve macaroni and cheese in jail, because I feel like I'm going to end up there.
I don't know. I don't really look good in orange, but
I'll make it work. Like, whatever.
I'm going to do watercolors. Is that dangerous?
Art time? I get some reading done, I guess.
All right. Oh my goodness. So here we are. You've set up a strong foundation for a business. You have a full-time job. You also have a full-time, what started off kind of as a hobby, I'm sure, but now we're licensed and all the things to sell.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself? Where do you see this going? Does it continue this, or are we getting big time?
Sure. I get asked that all the
oh no.
time. You know, and I never have a good answer. So it's probably going to be a rambling answer. Honestly, I'm really comfortable with where I'm at. Will it blossom? Sure. I am amazed every day at how God blesses me. During the pandemic, I was furloughed, and I was like, what does that word even mean? And I was scared that I wasn't going to make money. And I was like, how is this going to happen? And a lot of dark days. And then God literally sprinkled, okay, here's a customer. Here's a big order. Here's a small order, like weekly. And so I've gotten to the point now where I'm just like, I'm just going to let him handle it. And he's doing more work through it than I ever could. But do I have dreams and hopes and all of that? Of course. Will I quit my job and be a full-time artist? I don't think I will. But
you love being
I do. I love my full-time job. And when something's taken away from you, and I didn't do stuff for months. When that's taken away from you, I miss the people interaction. I miss, and like a lot of people did, you know, but it was just like, that's my purpose. So when that was taken away, I was just like, okay, never again. I also learned I can never be a stay-at-home mom. Like, there was just so many things that were clarified to me, which was so nice. Okay, I'm rambling. I told you I was going to ramble. Will it grow? I sure hope so. And I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone. I'm doing collabs with people that I never thought that I'd do collabs with.
So if you had to give this is a good segue into this quick question. Do you love Instagram?
Yes.
I am not an Instagram fan.
I'm not. Okay, let me back up. I love Instagram pre the new algorithm.
Don't even get me started on the algorithms. But I've always been a person to person. Always. And social media, seriously, if I am not on, Elizabeth totally yelled at me. She's like, oh my gosh, you've got to be like on it every day. I'm like, that's not how I roll. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't feel genuine. That doesn't really make me feel authentic.
It's forcing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really, I try and get on, I try and make some great statement pieces and then move on.
Yeah.
But since I've been here and the middle of the pandemic, it is a must.
It is.
You can't just say, oh, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. You can't say that.
We wouldn't be sitting here today if we didn't have Instagram.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's probably how I connected with Lorraine and Elizabeth and pretty much all of the women soldiers that I have in my that I consider my friends. I don't think I'd be connected with any of them without it.
You just multiply exponentially.
You do.
So that
they show up. Those are the people that show up. Sometimes those women have shown up more for me than people in my family or even my true friend group.
Because they don't quite understand why it's so important.
Sure. And that's totally okay. But I've really come to appreciate that side of social media, as many flaws as it has.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What have we not covered? I feel like the whole entrepreneurial journey is kind of a storm.
It is.
A swirling, chaotic
doubt, worry. I mean, you put your name on what storm it is, and it's just it's chaos. It really is. It's organized chaos, if you want to call it that.
But the beauty of it is that you can, to some extent, you do control how it runs.
Yeah.
So be confident in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's taken me a little bit to realize I need to be confident in what I'm putting out there. At first you're like, okay, I'm just going to push that out a little bit. There it is. Okay, no, I'm going to take that back.
Yep.
Just don't delete. Don't do that.
Yeah. The post didn't do well. I'm deleting it.
That first reel on Instagram is still up. It was not good. And it will stay there because
out of focus and everything. It's great.
It was in focus. The lighting was terrible.
Oh, mine was out.
Yeah. Oh, it was in focus-ish, I think.
I think that's a good point, though. I think so many people and every woman I talk to, oh, my voice doesn't matter. People don't want to hear what I have to say, or I just put my products out there and then just hope someone buys it. That's not.
No, if you're going to do it and you're going to take time away from your spousal relationship, your family relationship, your 9 to 5, whatever that career, you need to make it count. Yeah. If it was important enough for you to sign a business license, get after it.
Yeah.
And every single person that starts this journey feels the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if God didn't put that purpose in your heart to go and do something that's not been done before, then your voice wouldn't matter. But that's not how it worked, right? God put a seed in your heart, therefore the world needs your voice. And I think that is, I actually am planning an email this week, and it's literally titled, instead of Hot Girl Summer, which is, what the young people are saying, I think, I don't know. Yeah.
I didn't get that email.
No. But I'm changing it to Boss Babe Summer, just because I feel like I'm sensing just such a shift in the past, really since COVID, when all we had were our phones and all we could do is this, and I just feel like cheering each other on, and not just cheering each other on, right? Going the extra step, showing up to events, promoting other people's work with your work, and taking your platform and putting someone else's platform on that. I'm not the only one doing that. Every one of the people I follow are taking time and promoting someone else's business on top of theirs. And I'm telling you, it creates a community that's is unseverable a word? Can we make it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, do it.
It just makes a community unseverable. And really, when things get rough, those are the people that are there to pick you up.
Speaking of which, maybe I need to design a floral design and let you paint it.
Sure. I would love that.
That'd be fun.
I love flowers.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
This is so fun.
We could keep going.
Honestly.
Maybe we'll go round 2. I keep saying that. And we haven't gotten back to round 2 yet on anybody, but we're going to get back around. So tell us one more time, where do we find you?
Okay. So on Instagram, simply Kimmie, simply with an IE at the end. and Kimmie with an IE at the end. And Facebook, Simply Kimmie. And what's the other one?
The website.
Yeah.
That one.
Again, invest in your marketing. Oh, that's awesome. Simplykimmie.com. So fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
High five.
Good job.
I like it. All right, guys.